Hey, welcome back to Hurricane, West Virginia, home of the Meeks Mountain Trails and the Hurricane 100K. On behalf of our events team of Ashley, Brandon, Hager, Stewarts, Robert, and Vanessa, my name's Matt Young, and we are so pleased today to bring to you another runner profile series with Traci Falbo. I'm so excited to have her here. I'm going to introduce her in just a minute. Great conversation coming up. We've had a great conversation off camera already, so this is going to be fun. So if you haven't heard, the Hurricane 100K Trail Running Relay has a $10,000 prize purse on the line this year. All of that is made possible by our title sponsor, the City of Hurricane and Mayor Scott Edwards, and the Dumont Tri-County YMCA as our presenting sponsor. And we have a ton of local businesses that love our trails and are committed to our community. So thanks to all of them for their support. So I have the pleasure of introducing Traci to you. And so Traci is a 51-year-old, I'm allowed to say that, right? 51-year-old mother of,
it's no secret.
She is a full-time physical therapist, pediatric physical therapist, and an accomplished American ultra runner. Her accomplishments, now this is going to take a little bit, and I had to leave some of them out, but most notably, she has run a marathon in every state. She has over 22 marathon wins. She has been on Team USA on the 24-hour team 3 times. She's a member of the USA 100K team in 2016. She has completed the Grand Slam of ultra running. She did that in 2013, which is Western States, Vermont 100, Leadville 100, and the Wasatch 100, all in the same year. She holds the American record for the 48-hour indoor track event when she ran 242 miles in the 48 hours. She also ran a 14:45 at the Tunnel Hill 100 miler, which set a new American world record, which she held for a period of time. She's been on several Team USAs for different events and distances where she's earned bronze, silver, and gold medals as a member of those teams. She's sponsored by Squirrels Nut Butter, Running Skirts, Nathan Dry Max Socks, and Epsom, which she introduced us to and is now a sponsor of the Hurricane 100K. Somehow she has done all this living and training in the flatlands of Indiana while she's raised a family and balanced the full-time job. So Traci, so excited to have you here. So excited to meet you face to face. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
You know, it was funny last year. So the way we got introduced is Jason Hager, who runs all of our media and our website, forwarded me this email, and it was a question, and I got a bunch of those, and he would always forward them to me, and it was from you, and I said, Traci Falbo, I know her, I know that name. And so I said, but am I like kidding myself? And so I Googled it and reached out to you. And sure enough, it's the same Traci Falbo that I just read that laundry list of accomplishments. So I was excited that Hurricane 100K had popped up on your radar and that you're considering coming. Didn't work out last year, but here you are. You're locked and loaded and signed up for this year. So how did we hit your radar in the first place?
I don't honestly know. I know a friend of mine, I think maybe saw it as the relay and said, hey, do you think you'd want to do this or whatnot? And then, I don't know, I think somehow I ended up seeing something maybe on Facebook. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
So, but I was not in any shape last year to come run in it. And your race honestly scares the heck out of me. So still, I realize I signed up for it this year, but that doesn't mean
This race scares the heck out of you? Oh,
yes.
No.
I am not a climber. I run flat roads all the time. So I'm really not a very good trail runner. And so like yours has so much climbing. So that's
well, so come visit. I mean, the good thing is you're not very far away, and we're going to do a couple race previews for this. We do race preview. Course is going to be marked from May on, so people can come out and practice on it. And we're going to do a nighttime trail run and tailgate, typical West Virginia style. So running it dark, and then we're going to have a tailgate and a bonfire afterwards. So come and check it out. I'll tell you that this course, just kind of it's not. I don't think it's technical at all. I would put
oh, that's good. That's good.
1 to 5. It's, we have some rocks, we have some roots, but it's nothing like you'd see in other parts of West Virginia. Rolls, and our biggest hill is probably 200 feet, but it's just all single track and it rolls. So
See, 60,000 feet of gain in 100K is not really rolling. Like 10,000 feet in 100K, that's rolling. Well, maybe a
so
little.
what did you say? We're only 9,000.
You have 9,000 feet
Yeah, that's
in
it.
in one loop, right?
No, the whole thing. It's about 1,300 feet per loop.
Oh, golly. I thought it was 60,000 feet. I don't know where I got
No,
that.
no, gosh, no,
Well, that feels
no.
way
So
better. Okay.
now
So
you
now
can
I'm
come
not as
and
scared.
win. Yeah, you're not scared. That's why we're not kidding, because we're talking about some of these 100 milers you've run, and it's like this loop is, if I was doing 1 to 2 loops, it's entirely runnable. Like you wouldn't have to hike any of. There's parts of it, where you've got to actually hike. Doing the whole thing, I'm hiking. Don't get me wrong, but it's entirely runnable.
Okay, so you're saying in 100K, there's how many feet? 13,000? 9,000.
9,000. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. We want it to be this. We don't live in the part of West Virginia, so we're at 700 feet, and the highest point in West Virginia is 4,800. So there are climbs here in our mountains where you can do 2,500 feet, but that's not what we have here. We've got 1,000 feet at a time.
Okay.
And it just rolls. So
we'll see, that seems more reasonable. Okay, fair.
It's very reasonable now, right? Okay. You can do it. No, you can. Look at that. So anyway, so part of what happened too is afterwards I realized that you were in West Virginia and you ran Cabin Fever in 2022. And you and I, this was like a comeback run, taking it easy for you. I was out there running my poor little heart out, and we finished close to each other. So somehow we figured that out after so we probably passed each other out there and didn't even know it.
Maybe so. I don't know.
So I've got a handful of warm-up questions for you. Okay. So to kind of get you warmed up and loosened up. And so you've been all over the world. So here's the first one. If you could close your eyes right now and be teleported to anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Anywhere I want, or is it a race-related question?
Anywhere you want.
My favorite, happy place is Maui. I love Maui. So I love snorkeling and scuba diving, and I love the island of Hawaii. I don't know that I could live there, but man, that's a great place to visit.
So I'm a certified scuba diver too, and I did all my checkout dives in Maui.
Wow, that's cool.
On a trip, I've got some more stories for that, but we'll move on to that. But I'm with you on that. Maui's
that's a way better place, because I got certified when I was in college as part of a college course. I had to do a PE credit, and I picked scuba diving and cross country skiing for my 2 PEs.
Yeah.
It was in Decorah, Iowa. So I got certified in a rock quarry, which Maui sounds way better.
Yeah, well, it was awesome. It was awesome. You could go right off the beach, and I snorkel the first day we got there, right off the beach, and eels and turtles and fish, and it was incredible. So
awesome.
I'm with you on that. All right. If you only have one race that you could run for the rest of your life, what would it be?
That's a terrible question. There's so many great places. We were talking beforehand, and I told you I don't like to repeat things because I like to see new stuff. I don't know that I can answer that question. I do have a marathon. The race I've probably done the most is called Harpeth Hills Flying Monkey Marathon. It's in Nashville. And surprisingly, I picked that race because I don't like hills at all. And it's a very hilly course. But it's run by a race director who is also does ultras, and it's very much an ultra feel. And the race is small. I think he caps it around 300 people. So it's usually beautiful too. And it's in November, but so sometimes you still have fall leaves because it's further south and they get fall a little later. But anyway, it's a beautiful course and the people are great. So I guess that would be my pick as a marathon, but I just like to go see new places. That's the best part about running to me, is traveling and being able to see new places.
That's awesome. Well, I hear you. And, but it's also kind of like if you had one that you would have to do every year, what would it be? And it sounds like it might be that was a mouthful though. What was the name of that?
It's called Harpeth Hills Flying Monkey Marathon. And it's at Harpeth Hills. It's Percy Warner Park is where that is. So, but yeah, it's a marathon that's gone on for gosh, I think when I want to say 2003 or something. I've done it
Yeah.
probably at least 10 years. So
Okay. Anything with flying monkey, I'm a favor of. Okay. So do you have any quirky habits while you run?
while I run, I mean, not that I know of. I listen to music a lot, but that's not very quirky. So my running partner would say I always need to be a half step ahead, but that I try not to do that. It's a horrible, like unconscious thing I do. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, my running partners would say that I always have to pick the course, but it's just they don't do it in time. So when you're racing, what food or drink do you crave most at the finish line?
usually if I race, I don't feel like eating or drinking anything for a while. But then once I finally get hungry, I would say I'm totally a burger and fries kind of person, ice cream. So
Something to feed it back in. So would you rather run with someone that's chatty, silent?
can I have a mix of both?
Maybe.
No,
Depends on who it is, right?
yeah, I
There are
guess.
people that I want them to be silent and other people talking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's better to have someone that will talk back and forth and have conversation with you than somebody who's just totally silent, because I think the time goes by if you can have conversation, but somebody that would be like a totally chatty Cathy that doesn't take a breath somehow while they run and just keeps going at some point might get long if it was a long race.
Yeah.
So
Especially if it's somebody that you don't necessarily know. So do you run a lot with other people, or you run mostly solo?
right now I'm running mostly solo. My running partner is broken at the moment, and he and I usually run 3 or 4 days a week together. So right now I have another group I'm running with 1 day a week, and I have another friend I occasionally run with. But I would say in a month, maybe I've got somebody to run with maybe 6 times.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That's not much. Okay.
yeah.
So would you rather eat a slice of pizza mid-race or drink a milkshake?
I've done both.
Have you really? Nice. You ever washed pizza down with a milkshake?
No, I've done them separately, but I had in Destin 50 miler. I don't know if they still do it. They used to have I can't think of the name of the restaurant. Maybe the Back Porch. But you had an out and back section around mile 35. You'd come through the aid station and you could order at the restaurant. Like when I come back, I
Really?
want a XYZ, and you pretty much could order whatever and they would fix it for you.
Yeah.
And so you'd run to the other point and come back. And I wanted grilled cheese and a vanilla milkshake. And that's what they
Nice.
gave me. And it was lovely. I just took some time and walked and ate my grilled cheese, and man, that milkshake tasted awesome. Now,
Oh,
if it was way early on or a longer race, I don't know that I could have had dairy, but it was
yeah.
nice because it was a hot day. And I've had pizza in the middle of races a couple times before, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know that I have, but you mentioned grilled cheese. I've got a friend we call Grilled Cheese Dog, and for another story for another time, he carries grilled cheese pocket and eats them during the race. Not a Ziploc lock, nothing, just a grilled cheese in his sweet pocket and pulls it out and eats. So that's enough. That's all you need to know about Grilled Cheese Dog. But he
Well,
offered,
I can't say it.
and I thought I was
mean,
going to throw up.
I've picked a Jolly Rancher up off the ground. It was wrapped at the Keys, and I was running. Where was I? Last October, I was at Mammoth Cave 50K.
Yeah.
I was just starving. I don't know. I pack enough food for whatever reason. I was starving, and I had gone back and forth. It's an open course along the trails, and talked to these guys. And this guy he had boiled potatoes on him, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Want a potato?" And I'm like, "No," like from a random stranger. "No, I don't want a potato." But we had to do an out and back, and I came back and I said, "Say you don't still have a potato, do you?" And he's like, "I've got a red potato or a brown potato. What do you want?" I'm like, "I'll take the red potato." And he had just boiled these and had them in like a Ziploc, and I didn't have a Ziploc.
Yeah.
So I just stuck it in my pocket, munched on it a little bit, stuck it in my pocket, munched on it
Yeah.
throughout the race. I was so thankful to have it. So,
Boiled potato is something that you see a lot of on ultra tables and aid stations, and never appeals to me, especially from a can. But it sounds like it can, you never know what's going to strike you, what's going to hit
you
the spot.
don't.
Yeah.
It worked well. You get desperate, you'll eat just about anything though.
No, man, for sure. So would you rather get free running shoes or free registrations for life?
Either's a bonus. I guess, I don't know, free running shoes, you'd probably be at higher value, but I don't know. Either would be good. You can't beat free anything.
Free anything. It's kind of like, I think free registrations, I don't know. I mean, those things rack up these days,
They really do. And then if
They're not
you
50 bucks
travel,
anymore.
yep,
Yeah.
hotel, if you have to fly there, rental car, all that stuff. Yeah.
All right. So this is the last question for you in the warm up. So how do you feel about Napoleon Dynamite?
The movie?
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I don't think so.
Can I give you an assignment?
To watch this movie? Sure,
Yes.
I'll watch a movie.
Yes.
Okay. I've
It's
heard
only
of
an
it.
hour and a half of your life. And you might have to watch it twice to truly appreciate it. So, all right. So I got another one. How about Nacho Libre to play?
Nacho Libre? I haven't seen
Yeah.
that one either.
Oh,
I
man.
watch a lot of shows, but apparently we're not in the same genre.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out, like, if you and I could have, like, if we could really be friends outside of this.
Maybe not. I was thinking with the scuba diving, yeah, but I don't know. Now TV and movies in the wrong vein.
Well, it just kind of shows my intellect. But those two movies, they're just mindless, and there's very seldom a day goes by that I don't quote one of those two movies, and most of the time it's both of them.
Okay, My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that movie. That's one of my favorites. But
So I've seen it's been a long time though, because it's just not on that much, and I don't have it. So
yeah, that's a good
got
one.
My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, that's a good one. That makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, got it. All right, so look, you've got a really great story of how you started running. Will you share with all of our millions of watchers and listeners the kind of how you got started in your adult life and where it's led you?
Well, so in all technicality, I did run in middle school and high school, but I was not very good. I didn't ever run on our state cross country team. I did go to college, and I technically ran in college, but I went to a 2,500 person school, and they didn't cut kids at the time. So I ran on the JV squad. And then I sort of fell out of running. I got married, I had kids, and I ended up, 80 pounds overweight. And so, fast forward, I'm in my early 30s and I'm depressed. And I'm just super heavy. I was I weighed 213 and wore like a size 24 pants, and was just depressed and needed to do something. So I decided to start running again. In a little over a year, I lost the weight, got down to somewhere in the low 130s. And I did it by just starting to run. It just started with meeting a friend at the gym at the YMCA at 5 a.m. before our kids were awake, and walking and jogging on the treadmill until I could run. And then it just built up from there. So, and then I thought, oh man, I'd just love to do a marathon once. And then that turned into, a couple marathons, and then eventually ultras and what it's become.
So with that though, did you go straight from, was the marathon wasn't your first race, right? Did you have some
Oh no, I did some local like 5Ks, 10Ks, but so I started to work on losing weight probably in the, let's say, March of 03, and I maybe lost 15 pounds until October. And I was like kind of frustrated because I was exercising, but I really wasn't losing weight. My mom said, "Have you looked at what you're eating?" And I said, "Well, I don't think I'm eating that bad." So she had me calculate points from Weight Watchers. At the time, you had to figure out all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Figure that out. She said, just do it for 2 weeks. So I did. And I realized just portion wise, I was way overeating. So I cut my portions, and then that really got me the rest of the way. And somewhere in there, I'd been depressed. I ended up getting a divorce the following year. And at that point, if that's ever happened to any of the people who are listening or watching or whatever, you kind of end up with this fruit basket upset, because most of the time you have a couple friends that you do stuff with. and then nobody wants to take sides. So you like lose all your friends. So I was single and wanted to meet people, and I was running. So I joined a running group in I guess August. So that would have been a year and a half. And there was a guy there who was training for the Huntsville Marathon. And he said, well, I can give you a schedule and help you train. We can run some together. And I'm like, okay. So I had run some 5Ks and 10Ks, but pretty much within about a year and a half of losing weight, did a marathon. So
Wow. Do you remember your time for that first marathon?
I qualified for Boston.
Did you really?
Yeah. I
Wow.
want to say 3:40 was the time, and maybe I ran 3:39.
Nice.
3:30 something. But
In your first marathon. So my question was going to be, when did you realize that you had talent? And
I didn't think so there. That's not fast
that moment.
for a female, really, though. I mean,
For your first one, I would.
Well, yeah, that's a good first marathon. Don't get me wrong, but I never thought I was very good because I ran, fairly big races. I never I got, maybe get an age group award or something, but I didn't think like, ooh, I'm talented at running. I never thought that until I did an ultra and I placed higher up and thought, oh, okay, well, maybe this is my niche,
Yeah.
So
what was your first ultra then?
So that first marathon was 2004. And my first ultra maybe was 2009. There was a guy in our running group who'd done 100-miler, and I thought that's just insane. So anyway, so at some point that became less of a crazy thought, and I did a 50-miler and 100-miler that year. Yeah. So
I think a 3:39 for your first one, especially at that time being, did you have kids at that point too?
Yeah. So and that's hard. That's hard to juggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats off to you, and to anyone that has to do it and continues to realize that you have to take care of yourself in the middle of it and then dedicate that time. So that's it's pretty incredible. Do you have like an all-time favorite running or race story? Like if you said this is the highlight of my running career, you thought about that, or
like
what a top three would be?
A story, or like something that was like awesome. I don't know.
Both. We'll take them both. I love good stories. And
so like my favorite story is my husband has crewed me. So I met my husband in 2004 when I was training for my first marathon. And I did my first marathon, and then I ran Boston, and my Boston was terrible. And then I ended up running Boston again, and it was terrible. So I'm like, I hate long runs. I'm never doing another marathon. And then we got married in 2007. So he married me thinking, not necessarily thinking I'm done with running, but I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I didn't run any marathons that year. And then it sort of got carried away I started again in 2008 and then got carried away. But so he has crewed me for virtually every 100-mile, 24-hour. I mean, he's been there. So I was at the 48 and he hadn't slept and I hadn't slept. And I had heard that inside the dome, it might be dry air. So bring some hard candies to suck on if you feel like your throat's getting dry. So I had told him in the beginning of the race, we bought a thing of Jolly Ranchers, and they were a mixed bag. So they have 5 flavors. And I told him I like apple and watermelon. And he said, okay. So I thought that was understood. Those are the only 2 flavors I want. But I didn't say that. I said, I like apple and watermelon. So I come around, and of course you're on a 400-meter track-ish looping. And I say, hey, can I get some Jolly Ranchers? So he says, sure. So next loop, he hands me apple and grape. I don't remember exactly what they were. So I was like, what the hell? Why am I getting grape? Right. So I'm like, okay, put the apple in my pocket, running around again, handing back the grape. And I say, I like apple and watermelon. So the next loop I come back around, and he hands me watermelon and blue raspberry or something gross. So I'm like, what the hell? So I put the watermelon in my pocket. One I've got in my mouth now, and I've got one in my pocket, but I have 4 laps around to try to get a handful of what I want, which I already thought this was clear before I even started the race. Right. So I come around again, and sometimes we can get a little bitchy, right? When we run, I don't know. Some people are nice all the time. Okay. Sometimes I can get a little bitchy. So I came by and I said, I like apple and watermelon, which was really rude. I was exaggerating it. I spoke slowly and loudly. And he ran up beside me real quick and said, don't talk to me like that. I just wanted to give you the options, right? So he's being nice, thinking maybe I will want some options. So he's giving me something I like and maybe something else I might like. And the whole time I'm thinking he's not listening to me.
Yes, right.
So it's really funny now because this whole story of the Jolly Ranchers, around and round and round we go. But, he was being sweet, and I think he's not listening to me. So clearly that's like, important crew conversation, to have. But no, I don't know. My favorite like race memory, honestly, is I really wanted to break 3 hours in a marathon once. And I feel like, so you said, yeah, 3:39 is a good time, and it is, but it's not like competitive, like marathon competitive, like
sure.
2:20s, 2:30s. So for me, like I found my success more in the ultra world. So I found like I could hold a decent pace for a long time, but I don't really feel like I have a speedy gear. Like I maybe broke 20 minutes in a 5K one time ever, and it was like 19:59. Like I don't, if I go to the track, my husband who doesn't run can still beat me in a 400 or less because I just don't have that gear, right? So I did get a coach for a little while to train to be on the 100K team and to break 3 hours. And I broke 3 one time. And that honestly was
awesome.
One of the highlights of my running career, because it was so hard. Not that other things haven't been hard, but running faster is really mentally challenging for me. So that's probably the best. And my son and my husband were there. So, I mean, there's nothing like celebrating with family. So
absolutely. Those make this the power of the moment, and doing it, something that you can be proud of, doing it with people, and that shows you in your best light. And so no wonder that sticks out to you. Great story. And I love that. I can imagine you with those Jolly Ranchers. Like, I thought you were going to say you came back in that loop and threw it at him and pelted him with all the flavors you didn't want, because that's kind of what we do.
It is. He would say I threw a vanilla gel at him at one point during my first 24-hour world championship. I don't recall that at all.
Yeah. Well, so I've had those moments, and this last fall I did one, and I was kind of miserable coming in aid station. It was early. I got a Gatorade. My daughter, and she doesn't come to very many races anymore. She's kind of like over it, And I drank it and then threw the bottle down on the ground, like instead of handing it to her. I was such a jerk, and I'm not mad at her. I was just kind of irritated, overall. And then there was like a 2-mile hike up a hill, and I cried.
I know, you feel awful after you do it.
Oh, and they came up. I said, I promise I won't do that again. I'll be better next time you see me. I'm such a jerk. Why do you all love me?
Yeah.
You don't. No way.
It does give you something else to think about how horrible you were. But I think over the years, I have realized that, like, trying not to take myself so seriously and trying not to get so deep down the well. Yeah. And so now I'm like very, very conscious. I don't want to be that person that talks like that to people. I feel like I'm a generally nice, happy, good person. So now every time I see them, I'm like, thank you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. And then at the point I start to get more quiet, then they know I'm struggling, but I'm not rah-rah-rahing at people anymore. But I did that at first. I was trying as hard as I could, and you'd just go in this deep, dark hole and couldn't climb out of it for a while. So.
Well, and the thing, I've had that realization too. I said, I'm never doing that again. I'll just go in and smile. People love it, and that's great. And then the fact I let myself get there made it even worse. So,
but we're all human, and ultras are hard. So, I mean, at some point I try to give myself a little grace that, I push myself, to a point where I persevered past it. I just wish I hadn't hurt someone in the process, or, he's good with tough love though. If I have trouble, he can tell me whatever I need to hear to get me going, which is good. So it works both ways.
Yeah, I have one of those too. So, get up, get out of here. Stay. So that's good. So now, so you've been doing this for 20 years, whether it's marathons or ultras. What do you know now?
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
You have.
Yeah.
2003.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Smart like that. I did math.
Good math.
So what do you know now that you wish you know then? And if somebody says, I'm getting ready to get started, Traci, what should I know?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, first of all, I think you have to be super nice to people. I mean, and I've always been nice to the aid station people. It's always the people I love that I'm rude to, which is terrible. But I think you feel safest with them. But I mean, I honestly think you have to, if you want to do an ultra, I think you have to eat and drink continuously. Like I personally shoot for about 200 calories an hour and I start from the get-go. So, I mean, I think, in terms of liquid, it depends on if it's a hot race, that's a cold race, but you have to constantly be drinking. And if you're not having to pee at some point, then that's a problem. So, I don't know. I think continually doing that and then just pacing is key. It's really hard. And see, I think that's part of why I have trouble. Like your race scares me is because I've run by feel all my life generally. But I struggle on the hills because I pretty much run flat roads, not flat, but what actually are rolling hills around here.
Yeah.
I run rolling roads. So I can pretty much run 100% of the time. I don't ever hike. So don't get me wrong. I hike for fun when I go on vacation, but I don't like practice it. And I need to get better at that. So I think the other thing would be, race specific stuff. So before I try to tackle the bear in your race, I'm going to have to get on trails more, or I'm going to have to do some treadmill workouts with some incline, because you can't just run flat and go somewhere hilly and expect one to do well, or two, like not to suffer greatly, because it's such a different, body taxing on different structures.
Yeah, that is. I think that's what people don't realize as much is, it's like this neuromuscular thing too. And that, so for instance, cabin fever, we were in that a few weeks ago again. There are stretches where you run a lot. And I almost, because I do mostly mix of running and hiking, lots of rolling stuff. And so I mix it up. And so to run steady state for me is hard. And I realize I have no turnover anymore either. And it kind of goes both ways. So you'll have these built-in brakes in this race, which I think is a nice mix of, you'll have plenty of places, because I've got this old saying, if it resembles a hill, I'm going to walk it on race. Lots of places to break that up. And so, your running muscles and your walking muscles and neuromuscular, which controls both of those, gets a good mix up. So I think that you're going to do just fine with that too. And I would say the same thing to anybody. It's a great mix. About the time you're done running, you should be walking. About the time you're done walking, you're ready to run.
Well, I look forward to running it. I don't know if I want to come and see the course beforehand. There's something like the whole newbie quality of not knowing what you have installed, ahead for you, is something to be said for that. So I may just be delighted on the first loop and then gradually suffer as I go. It's just not my forte. It's definitely my weakness. So, which, it's good to challenge yourself, but I like that steady state running. Well,
you can do it. It's just going to be hard. That's all. No, I want you to be delighted too. And I think that you will be. I think hopefully the whole event. So if somebody says to you now, too, it's that, let's shift it from like the physical, which I think of as, pacing and food and things. What are some things mentally, or do you have a mantra that you use that helps you get through those tough times? Or how does somebody get themselves to where they can really just be ready to take it on? Because we all know it's between the ears. It is a physical activity, but it's discipline.
Yeah, I think, training aside, if you're trained, I think your success, it's at that point, it's like 85% mental. If you've done the work, I think getting through the race and succeeding in the race it's 85% mental. You do have to just be strong, and you have to know that, inevitably something's going to go wrong, or you're going to suffer in some way, and you just have to be prepared for it and figure out exactly how to get past it. So, I think, I was reading Scott Jurek's book once, and he was a physical therapist, and we do SOAP notes, SOAP. And so he has, he thinks about ultra running in terms of SOAP notes. So S stands for subjective. Okay. So, what's going on? O is objective. So subjective might be like, oh, I'm in pain. I don't feel good. Well, objective is, okay, what's really hurting? Is it your stomach? Is it your foot? And, is it really objectively, is it really as much of the, well, this hurts. And then A is assessment, you're making the direct assessment of what exactly it is. Okay. Is it your stomach? Is it your foot? Whatever. And then P is the plan. How do I fix it? What can I do about it? If you have a broken bone sticking out, okay, you can't do anything about it. That's the legitimate, you're, whining in the S part of it. But, assessments like, okay, your stomach's bothering. What can you do? Eat some ginger, eat some bread, eat, don't eat for a little while, drink, what's going on exactly, and then how to fix it. But I think if you try to take some emotion out of it, I think you're going to do better going past it than if you get wrapped up in the S, the whole, I don't feel good. If you'll just end up spinning down if you can't be objective about what's going on and what you need to do. If you can just figure that out, you'll do a lot better. And just know that there's going to be hard times and you have to push through. That's the point of this. So.
Right. If you go into it and you're not expecting that, or you've never felt it. I mean, there are people, and you probably have too, that's like first thing they do is 100-miler. Like, and you've got to have sampled some of the things that you're going to experience before you get into that, because our tendency is, and this is human nature in general, I think, and you see if you agree, is to take the moment that we're in, especially when we don't feel good,
Sure.
and perpetuate that forward. Like, this is going to be my constant state. So I'm in a race, I'm miserable. How can I do this? And I always say, dude, it's not forever. I've got a saying that I don't have to do it forever. I just have to do it for now. And that it eventually is going to be done. But we have a tendency just to think like it's going to stay this way for a long time, maybe forever. And it's not the case.
I think if you break up the race too, it certainly, okay, just get to the next aid station, just get to the next tree. I think if you look at it like that, and then you just reward yourself, okay, I'm going to stay strong until this point. And then I'm going to give myself a walk break, or, give myself 20 seconds to sit here on this log, or a minute to sit here in this chair and figure things out. I think a lot of people are like, oh, this is hard, I'm going to stop and I'm going to quit. And then they don't give themselves time, even though they might have time. They're ahead of cutoffs, they could sit and regroup, and they just are like, nope, done. So I think you have to hang in there for, 10 or 15 minutes and just know that you can get past it. And I think you mentally have to set yourself up in advance of a race and say, things are going to get hard, and this is what I'm going to do to get through it. And then you have to remember, okay, this was going to happen. Here it is. This is what I've been waiting for. Okay, let's do it. So.
I heard some advice one time, and the guy said, look, before you start the race, ask yourself, under what conditions am I going to quit? And before the race, most likely the answer is, well, there's really no condition, or a bone sticking out of my skin. Right. It's not going to be, well, if I get a blister, if I throw up once, I'm going to quit. But when you're in the middle of it, it's like, that blister, take it anymore. I've thrown up 7 times, it's whatever it is. But knowing beforehand, because it's kind of like, quitting, we're all going to say it's not an option. However, when you're out there, it's like, can I find a good excuse? And it's just that it's a detrimental thing to think about. The reality of this is, and everybody has different perspectives, but you'll come to that point where it's uncomfortable, where it's like, can I find a way out? And the answer is no, because it's miserable when you get out of it.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll be honest. I mean, I can't think of any one person I know who's never quit a race. Yeah. I mean, I think it happens to all of us at some point. And I think then you kick yourself later for doing it. You're like, oh man, I wished I hadn't, blah, blah. I don't know many people who've quit and was like, yeah, that's, truly the best decision of my life, and granted, if you're injured or you're, in some way and you need to quit, it's totally legitimate. But I think there's a lot of times where mentally we're weak that day and we just don't have it.
Yeah.
So, but that's what makes it challenging. If it was easy and you just bang this stuff out all the time, then I don't know, it kind of loses its appeal to me. I mean, I think a lot of us do this stuff because it's crazy and it's hard, and we live pretty easy, comfy lives, and we want to challenge ourselves every once in a while. So
The American culture is all about comfort and convenience and increasing that on a regular basis. You have got to voluntarily subject yourself to it, and amazing things, good things happen when you do. And you've learned that over the years too. So tell me, who's coming with you to the 100K? Do you know, is your husband coming?
Oh, to the 100, you mean to the 50 milers I'm doing?
No, to our 100K. We'll get you next
Oh,
50.
I
Do you
honestly
have
don't
crew
know.
coming with you?
I may be coming by myself. I don't know that. I haven't processed that far ahead yet.
Okay.
I had a friend who lives in California who needs something to train for, he said, and wanted me to do a 100 miler, which I didn't know I was going to do another 100 miler still in my life. I thought maybe I'm done with that far, but I'm like, okay. So we agreed to do the bear, and then your race is like 3 weeks before. And I thought, okay, well, that'd be a nice long run with good training. I can bring my hiking poles and practice, because the bear is also a scary race for me. So
yeah, well, it's going to be fun. We'll bring some crew, man. We got a ton of stuff for families. We have a bunch of stuff. You know, you're so how old are your kids now?
oh, I'm an empty nester. They're 23 and 25.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Did they run?
no, my daughter was a better high school runner than I was, but she said she never thought she liked running, so she doesn't run anymore. And my son looked at it as a punishment when he was in high school, so he definitely doesn't run. So
Have you ever seen those T-shirts that said "Our sport is your sport's punishment"?
right.
We've all been punished through running, which is, you know, I teach running classes, and especially for beginners. And I said, you know, you got to get that out. And the main thing is just run easy, because that's what's so fun. We run easy, it's good for you. But if it's no pain, no gain is gone, you know, it's kind of out, not especially when you're getting started. So, well, hopefully you'll have a nice crew with you. So we'll have a good time. The way it's set up, do you like loop races? And what's your experience been with loop races?
I mean, sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depends. I mean, obviously I've done a bunch of loops around a track. The benefit of loop races is that, especially multi-loop races, that you constantly see people, which is nice. I think sometimes you get like a point to point and you can go 20, 30 miles without seeing anybody. So that part of the loop aspect I like. And I think seeing people repeatedly helps make things go by. If the loop is super challenging, pros and cons, like if you're you can like prepare yourself. Oh, okay, I've got that one more shitty hill I've got to do, on the last loop, or, you can kind of have it in your mind. Okay, well, I just need to get to this point, and I'm halfway around the loop, and you can kind of talk yourself through it. So It just depends. It's, in general, I don't think they're bad, but on occasion, if you don't like the loop, then that's not so fun.
I've just like you, point to point, whatever, big loop, multi, and I like them all, but I like the loops because in my brain, I'm also a planner. And so I love just being able to put stuff off. And I think that it breaks it down into, you talked about breaking it down into smaller parts, and it breaks it down into smaller part. And so I really like it. And the fact that you get to see people. We're coming back into this bowl area we have. I think ours especially is kind of set up for community and for more of a festival type feel. So
that's good. It's certainly easy for crewing. I mean,
yes,
you just sit in a chair and wait for your runner to come by and give them stuff.
Right.
But I do think when you asked about like, what do you do to be successful as far as running? I'm a planner, so I feel like there's a lot more people out there, even when I was competitive in racing, that are more talented than me. But I thought my benefit was that I'm super type A planner. So when I ran my fast time at Tunnel, I had a spreadsheet for my husband. I had, column of where the aid station was, where he was going to meet me, how much time and I estimated, what am I going to run? I'm going to run this pace. So I should be here at this point. And I had 2 packs. So he would have one packed for me. Actually, I think I ran that with a water bottle, but now if I have a pack or a water bottle, he would just switch with me. So I would not even stop at the aid station. I would just run. We'd change, he'd give me the water bottle with how many ever gels or whatever I wanted in it. And I would just keep going, and I never stopped. And so I think if you can plan and have an idea of what you want and just do that, it saves you a ton of time. Because if you're in a 100-miler and you stop for 2 minutes at every aid station, the time adds up significantly.
Yeah.
So
So we're gonna be doing some videos on that too, because between racing and passing people on aid stations and then working aid stations, and like I watch some people and I go, you got to be kidding me, you've got to get out of here, because we've got one main aid station and then 2 on course. So if you think of 6 loops, that's 18 times you'll be able to do it. If you spend 2 minutes each, or 5 minutes each, and what some people do, if you're chasing cutoffs, you're chasing an award, it adds up. You just got to be deliberate and intentional about getting in and out of there. So planning that part, even knowing in your head what you want to do is great advice for people. And you see people waste so much time in this thing.
Yeah. And see, I think when I come to your race, your loop is short enough, and I realize it's tons of climb, so it's not going to be super zippy, but I can do that in, let's say you do a loop in, I have no idea, let's say 2 hours, even.
Yeah.
Let's just say 2 hours a loop. I can carry enough fluid and gels with me that I probably will just plan on refueling at the start finish point every time and not even stopping. Like I might peruse if there's something that looks really good on the 3rd or 4th loop. Like, I don't know, sometimes you get, oh man, I need salt, or I need, that cheese quesadilla looks good, or the peanut butter and jelly.
Grilled cheese.
Yeah.
Milkshakes.
Yeah. I might stop and pick something up briefly, but fly by kind of stop. But I think too, if I stop, I think, oh, this feels good. I could walk for a while. So I just think they just slow me down. Like I'm better if I just keep going. So.
Yeah, 100%. So have you ever been to Hurricane, West Virginia?
I've driven by it on the way to Cabin Fever. I saw a sign.
Yeah.
So, no, I have not been there.
Okay. Well, we're right off I-64. So, it's a great community. So what we have here is we have some hand-built, handcrafted trails we've been working on for about the past 4.5 years, 30 miles now, 450 volunteers, 470 unique individuals that have done it. 20,000 hours have gone into it. We've done it all with volunteer. No money, no grant money, just donations. So it's been awesome. And so our objective for these trails in West Virginia we want them to be both an economic and a wellness driver. But our goal for this race is that we roll out the red carpet for you. That when you come to Hurricane, West Virginia, Traci, you and every other runner, we want you to feel welcomed. We want you to feel appreciated. We want you to feel loved. And that is the objective for this race. And so in our volunteer base, they're all on board with that too. So I'm thankful that you're coming, excited to have you here, somebody of your caliber and your experience, and just consider blessed and honored that you're coming to our race. So thank you.
No, I'm looking forward to it. It should be good. I'm impressed that and I always appreciate races that really are runner centered, as opposed to having some personal gain, with the race. And so those are always the races that are my favorite. So, I mean, there's nothing like the sense of community that comes with an ultra. And if you've got a race that goes above and beyond, that's something special.
Yeah.
So.
Because I joke, and I told our team, I said, I've been to races, and I'm sure you have too, where you feel like you walk up and they're doing you a favor by letting you come to their race. And we want to say, look, we consider an honor that you chose our race. We have folks coming in from Indiana, from New York, from Colorado, from other states, and excited to welcome in here. And we want them to have a great experience here in Hurricane. So, in West
That's
Virginia.
awesome.
So happy to have you here. So anything else you want to tell our millions of fans and followers and listeners out there as we wrap this thing up?
Not that I can think of right off.
Well, if you do decide you want to come and see this, then see this course, not even the whole thing. You just want to get a sampling of our trails. You let us know when you're coming to town, and we will host you and give you a tour. Okay.
I appreciate that. I do have one question for you though. So did you guys just have some land that you were able to access, that you guys just created trails through? And if so, how did that come about?
So it's a great story. It's been a partnership. The Meeks family owns a lot of property in this area. They had it's several hundred acres of hillside that's primarily, it's got some pipeline. It's mainly for utility. And our president and chief fund officer and architect, Brandon Dorner, just had this idea of building trails up there. And so he went and knocked on Thor Meeks, knocked on his door 3 different times, and Thor blew him off and finally said, he sat down and said, "Hey, I want to build some trails. Can I do it?" And he said, "Sure, dude, knock yourself out." He didn't think it would amount to anything. And so Brandon went up the fall of 2018, or maybe the spring, with his daughter, Katie, just a little girl at the time, and set out a course with some rakes and hose, just the 2 of them to get started, and started building some single track trail. And so it's become the Meeks family owns the property. The city of Hurricane leases the property, and then the Meeks Mountain Trail Alliance operates it and builds the trails. Got a very unique situation where you've got a private entity and a family, a government organization, and a not-for-profit, and we all really work very, very well together.
That's awesome.
I mean, we're seeing 350 people, up there on a nice afternoon. Easy. That's when we got a
350 people in a day on those trails?
Day.
Wow.
That was a year ago.
Wow.
On a nice afternoon, I went up. I took my son out there, actually after cabin fever, the Sunday after, and he was running his RC car, and I was walking the dog. And I mean, I passed 25 people just getting to the gate to the trail, and then saw a ton of people up there too. On this past weekend, we shot our interview. We actually did it, the one with Dan Green. We did it on the trail, and there were hikers and bikers. You can hear them rolling by the whole time while we were up there. It's been really amazing when you ask the people, because it's out our front doors. I mean, I run to the trails from my house where Hurricane is. I mean, a lot of people have access within 2 miles, and we're not. I mean, West Virginia is known for natural resources, but part of it is like a lot of that's like New River Gorge, where we had cabin fever up in the mountains. The trail systems, and while we do have some around here, not quite as accessible. And so, and part of what happens too is that in this community, West Virginia, we also talk a lot about, I'm kind of on a soapbox now, so bear with me, but they talk about tourism. Now we want to bring people into our state, and that's for like a weekend, or a weekend or 2, or maybe come and visit 3 times a year if you love us. And what we're trying to do with the trails in our community is we don't want your weekend dollars. We want you to come and live here. And when you have choice of making a home, if you're coming to the area, we want it to be Putnam County. We want it to be Hurricane, and we're trying to build it out. That if this is your thing, you've got these trails: mountain biker, hiker, runner, the multi-use trails, and we want you to come here and live. We want you to be here full time. So that's part of the mission of it as well. We've seen businesses that have come up around the trails. We do know people that have moved here specifically if they're choosing to relocate because of the trails.
That's awesome.
It's been a crazy thing to see COVID, just when people didn't have anything to do, it exploded. And you could watch like the activity go, but 450 unique individuals that have come out, and building trails is not easy work. And we're talking, you're taking out these trail hose and chainsaws. We're taking a path right through the middle of the woods, and it's backbreaking work, but we've got
That's pretty awesome though. But clearly that was something the community needed. If you've got that many people not participating, but just like out and about on the trails in the course of the weekend, that's impressive.
Yeah, because there's something for everybody. I mean, you see, and I kind of joke about this, but again, on Friday, we popped up there and set up for our interview, and Colin said these three older ladies were coming through. They're training for some like 23-mile hike. They were up there already 8.5 miles into it. Jackets, purses strung across them. I was like, "Do you all know where you're going? You need help?" I'm like, "No, we got it. We've been up here. We've been training up here," and they're out there knocking out miles.
Awesome.
On those trails.
Awesome.
And active. Got to keep moving, and it gives people an opportunity to do that. So
yeah, I have a state park not far from me, maybe 15-minute drive, and I'll run trails out there even 10 miles and go and not see a single soul. So that's crazy. That 350 people, to me, that's crazy.
I think it's probably more than that now. I mean, that was when we had a camera up about a year ago. It could very easily be more than that. And when we have, every time there's a storm, something falls on the trail, a tree or whatever, and those trees don't stay down 24 hours. You put out a call, and we got a team, some retired guys and younger guys, we're going to clear these things out within 24 hours. So
nice.
30 miles of trails to maintain now. We just want to show them off. We want to showcase our community and showcase our trails. And we have a small community race called the Crush Run. It's a 10-mile, and we do that in February. We kind of think about it like for all of our locals within an hour. But with this one, we want it to be where, the Hurricane 100K and the city of Hurricane and our trails are synonymous, and we're bringing people in, from all over to show them what we have. So
Very cool.
excited to see you come for this and seeing people from other states. So.
Well, cool. I'm sure I'll bring somebody along with me for the ride, but we'll see what happens.
Hope so.
I haven't thought that far ahead.
I just hope for their sake they get to come and visit too and experience this and see you run. And you've got the support. We'll support you no matter what. You're going to have great support, but I'd love for you to have somebody to come and experience it.
All right.
Traci, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
So for everybody else, all of our millions, I joked about that, but our millions of followers and listeners out there, on behalf of our Meeks Mountain Trail Alliance team of Ashley, Brandon, Hager, Stewart, Robert, and Vanessa, my name's Matt Young, and we'll see you at the Hurricane 100K.